to me, like we always say, Web3 is like, a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
We have a problem. AI music, it's really difficult to find who actually deserves to get royalties when you're using like Juice WRLD AI voice. Now we know. Now it's via Web3 music NFT royalties. You can upload your AI music, tag the artist that you're doing the voice from, their wallet address appears, and boom, every sale, they get a small share. I think that will be amazing, and that will be a new... And then, boom, we have a true music NFT value that captures, as you said, when the artist blows up, they capture some of that value.
Episode 9 of Invest in Music with Alex from Showtime. ALEX Masmej is the founder of a social platform where you can pre-save songs on Spotify to earn an NFT. We talk about how Showtime empowers artists and how they're going to be releasing a creator earnings dashboard to allow you to connect with your fans. He talks about his background launching the ALEX token, one of the first personal tokens on Ethereum, and what it looks like to be building a world in the future of AI music. As a reminder, you can collect this podcast on investinmusic.xyz. Without further ado, let's get into it with one of my longtime friends, Alex from Showtime. All right, we are here today with ALEX Masmej of Showtime. Alex in LA, how you feeling, man?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Thanks for having me, Coop.
Good to have you here, man. We have quite the history together. Today, I want to talk about Showtime, what you've been working on in the music NFT space, but maybe just starting from basic principles here, why don't you give a quick background on yourself and talk a little bit about what Showtime is?
For sure. So my background is, I started in crypto basically straight after college. Like I decided that I would dedicate a decade of my life just in crypto and Web3, and met you very early on because we had this like DAO crew called Meta Cartel, which was investing in like consumer apps with just small grants. And so I always wanted to do like consumer facing stuff. And now both of us, like we're more into Web3 and NFTs, which is way more consumer than when we met back then. My one thing I did before Showtime was during COVID 2020, I was broke. I had like no money in my bank account. And I launched the ALEX token with your help. And the first use case amongst many use cases was basically a crowd fund on chain. And I would give back some of my salary to the people who invested in me so I can pay my visa and move to San Francisco. That was like viral and that went pretty big. And then I did other things like Collab Land or Snapshot very, very early on. And so here I am. I have the money secured. I went to California and my dreams, which was the goal of the ALEX token, to create a company, start a team, get investors, launch a product, they all succeeded. And so fast forward to now, building Showtime and more into Web3 and music like you are recently. And I feel like you kind of convinced me to go into music NFT. And so, that's my background.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Right.
Why don't you give people a quick background on Showtime, and then we're going to go very deep on some of those other topics.
For sure. So a background on Showtime. So I did my ALEX token. It kind of blew up. And the first idea I have is how can I take the ALEX token success and replicate it for other creators? And the first thing was, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not an artist. And I want a big consumer product that really gets millions and even billions of people in the long term. And the one thing I noticed, music was not a thing back then. It was all about art. And I wanted to make a very easy product to use. And I think digital art was starting to boom. Like we saw, I think 6 months after the ALEX token, Beeple sells a massive like 3 mil digital art piece on chain. And I'm like, okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this very easy to use Instagram-like platform. I think you actually were the one to coin like Showtime is the Instagram for NFTs. And that's kind of what we built. Like in like a week, we just built this platform. It's like February at this point, 2021. A week later, the space just goes viral. And we get like 50K, 80,000 users, which at the time was like most of the market. Like it was pretty crazy. And so that's the start of Showtime, which is this digital art gallery. We were the first one. And so now, more recently, Showtime has been more focused on music, and I can talk about that too.
Yeah, and I think the interesting journey for Showtime is that, as you mentioned, you were so early to experimenting with collector chats and community governance, and then social media for digital art and for NFTs. And I feel like Showtime to me has really just been a way to stay up to date with what's relevant for the creator economy within crypto. And so I want to dive very deep into Showtime and what you guys are working on the music side. But going back to the beginning, I think our story is interesting because like you said, we met probably 2018 or 2019. I remember I went to San Francisco. There was an ETH San Francisco conference there, and Alex was organizing a happy hour basically with Audius and a couple other projects. And I remember that was kind of our first meeting. I was super new to the space. I didn't really know anyone at that time. I remember I'd seen you on Twitter when you probably had like 1,000, 2,000 followers.
Yeah, maybe Same for you. You had like 1,000 followers. I think the crazy thing about this event is that I think every company on that event, you ended up working with them.
Yeah.
Like Audius, I think you know, Aave, like you're close to Stanley and stuff. Like every Meta Cartel, of course, which was like the thing organizing. And you came to me at the end and really like locked your eyes, like typical Cooper style. I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. I want to help anywhere I can. And you did help everywhere you could on every single project. And now I'm starting to see a theme of people like this with really high energy, because David Greenstein from Sound also 3 years ago locked eyes and was like at a dinner in NFT NYC and was like, dude, I want to do this music thing. I want to help, like give me feedback and stuff. And then like he's, crushing it with Sound right now. And I'm seeing it tonight. We're seeing it tonight at the Sound Lounge. So anyway, yeah, it was a crazy, crazy start.
And I remember at that period in time, you mentioned that we kind of bonded over this interest in consumer products. And I think that was really interesting to highlight, because at that point in crypto, DeFi was very fascinating. People were really into this idea of DAOs and social coordination and governance. And I remember me and you always had this shared vision of saying like, crypto is cool for what you can do with the technology, but we kind of saw it for something bigger than the tech and like kind of the infrastructure. And I think that's something that we've always kind of shared a mutual interest.
Yeah, 100%. And we're seeing it with also people we were hanging out with at the time, like Seed Club. I think Seed Club also was always very consumer facing. Even now, like I think this week they just released the consumer crypto accelerators. Like there's no other terms to better define what we want to do in Web3. And yeah, like to me, DAOs, like I did this A16Z blog post where I say social tokens is actually a little easier to do than DAOs, because DAOs, you have to coordinate many people. It's like this very complex, idealistic thing. And I want to go more simple. I want to go where someone who doesn't know anything about Web3 can just collect their first NFT on Showtime. Sound also XYZ is doing well. And it's very simple. It's like, I'm buying this music NFT. And maybe the more technical minded people will say, oh, like, we want more complicated use cases, but most people don't have that much attention span, and we need to build for them.
Right. And I think going into the ALEX token, which is basically the first project that me and you really worked closely on, to set the stage here, it's ETHCC, probably 2019.
Yeah,
right?
Oh my God.
Alex is like, guys, I'm broke. I want to move to San Francisco. I have no money. So I'm going to launch an ALEX token, which is basically one of the first personal tokens out there.
Right.
Goes on stage at ECC, talks about how he wants to raise $20,000, I think it was, to move to San Francisco. And I'm just going to give my opinion on this. People were pissed about it. They were like, you can't do this.
Yeah, I remember like on the Bankless podcast and other people, like they were like, so at the time, like tokens were a bad thing to do. Like it was before DeFi summer, which you grew a lot during. And it was like doing a token, like it especially from a person perspective, like it's not trustless. It doesn't have the values of DeFi. I could just rug, I could just go away. But I think the lesson from the ALEX token, because I didn't cheat, I ended up actually repaying all of my holders. I had really great people holding the ALEX token, like the CEO of Zora and Foundation and all of those really important people in the space. And like, actually, my reputation was my collateral. Like if I had gone away, then people will be pissed at me and my reputation would have really gone down. But I did actually repay and do the things I said I did because it was tied to my persona. It was not some anonymous persona, or I had good intentions. And so I honored them. And
Yeah, it really gave you a good positioning in the space, because for a while there, then you started to be known as like the personal token guy, the ALEX coin guy.
Right.
I was voting on you like running in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
That was also pretty cool. Like I think I did this because there was like a guy called Mike Miller, I think. And this guy now has an Amazon video show where people could control his life. And he did this as far as 2009. And I went on podcast with him and I got to know him because he was like, dude, like you are the control my life person. People had stocks in dollars. And he was like, you're doing it in Web3 now. That's so cool. And that inspired me to do the control my life thing because we could do it. And so me and Austin Griffith, who's an Ethereum developer, very known like DevRel type person, was like, we should do something where you vote on your life. And the craziest thing, actually, like I don't think many people know this, but I get a text from a dude called Fernando like a week after this. And he was like, dude, this is how DeFi should be governed. Like signature-less voting. And this guy leaves his company to found Snapshot. Sorry, he left Balancer. And so like ALEX basically was the first collab land and partially inspired Snapshot, which are now like two big stuff. And I'm like, wow, like this is cool. And I think today we're seeing music NFTs are kind of the same thing for artists like me with the ALEX token. If I had done it today, it would have been an NFT. An artist can move to LA the same way I moved to SF. And so I see a lot of parallels there, and it's partly inspiring Showtime.
And I want to get into the bigger topic of creator tokens, because I think there's so much to unpack here, from what that can become, all of the future iterations that came on the back of it. You know, in a lot of ways, things like FWB Friends with Benefits was directly inspired by social tokens like ALEX, you know?
Yep.
It was such a big
100%.
moment. And I would say that the one thing that I want to kind of zoom in on here is that for you being very unconventional at the time and trying these new things, you know, when it came to starting Showtime, I saw that you had this vision for, you know, what I said, Instagram for NFTs basically. And what that looked like has been changing over time, but you've always been very consistent in recognizing that the playbook's always going to change. You know, what's hot in the market's always going to change. And how do you build a product and really a company around the fact that we don't really know what this is going to turn into. We have like an idea, but I think what that takes the form of changes a lot. And I guess to turn that into a question, I'm curious to hear about, how did you start to stumble into music as a focus for Showtime after starting with digital art?
Right. So I think what happened with digital art is, so we had this 6 month at Showtime of really hyper growth. So I think like it's complicated because I know a lot of startup founders. I live in San Francisco. There's so many of them. And Web3 is really by spikes, which is very difficult because already people say, you know, startups have like a lot of highs and lows, but in Web3, it's like even crazier. And I think, so we had 6 months of crazy, crazy high. And what happened then is that the space shifted from digital art to PFP collections, and less about displaying and more about trading. And so this is around the time where OpenSea really took off all the market share for every platform. And since there was only one, we needed less a digital art gallery. Because I think Showtime really succeeded when people had Zora, Foundation, and all of them, and they wanted one place to see them in a very easy way. And also, I guess, Gallery was the other one that came out a few months later. And now also they're thinking about social. So that'll be interesting to watch them too. But yeah, I think like I came onto music because I obviously saw like music NFTs rise and you really pushing it, and thinking about the mission of Showtime to be to make Web3 more accessible to as many people as possible. Musicians have like such a massive audience, obviously one of the biggest in the world. And so compared to digital art, I think that was a no-brainer that we talk to those people and build a product for those people. And always in the spirit of trying to make it easy, take them where they're at. And so if that means, you know, a Spotify and Apple Music link to then get their fans to claim their first NFT, which is the current product that we have, we were going to try to make it easy for those artists. And honestly, I mean, we like 10x in like users the past 3 months. Like it is still very tiny. I think Web3, as we said, very spiky. And so it's very hard to motivate your team, to talk to your investors because it's so cyclical. But hopefully, because we're trying to do a product that's social, regardless of market, you will just be able to like have a constant user base coming back to you. And actually, that's been the case right now because it's the bear market. It's the crypto winter. It's really dark right now. And yet, we've grown a lot. I think we're stable at like tens of thousands of users. But honestly, that's where the space is. And like, there needs to be infrastructure changes, and we can talk about it. I think Base by Coinbase is interesting. But now like the infra space has to keep up because we kind of maxed out that bandwidth. And now the music NFT space on Twitter, the culture has been around like, oh, what's useful, blah, 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 because of higher gas fees. And so now they need to justify it more. So I think now it's on the infrastructure, the ball is in their court, make it better, and then we'll think of new products to deliver.
Yeah, to pull a couple of things out there.
Right.
Showtime as pre-saves for NFTs, I think is fascinating. You know, we've seen dozens of artists in the music NFT space putting their song on Showtime, getting an extra 100, 200, in some cases 1,000 pre-saves for a song, which is gigantic. You know, it really moves the needle on that front. And before we go into the infrastructure thing, because I do want to talk about what layer 2 looks like with music NFTs, I think it's a very important topic. You mentioned the current size of the music NFT community being roughly 10,000 people, which I would say is accurate. But before the show, we were talking about how there's different pockets of people within that community. You know, I know that you just came back from Nashville right before LA, supporting Sam Arriaga. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've seen across the music NFT community
for sure.
in the last couple of months?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, there's different factions. I think obviously you're one of the pioneers of the first one, which I would say is, you know, Dead Island, DLG, A lot of those more like producers or indie pop, but like the same group of friends in LA. So like the LA circles that you're spearheading. And so they're doing great. They're innovating with you on many other use cases. And so you have you under their wings, under your wing. And then another one that I think is really fascinating is this guy, Sami Araga, who's like I'm being closer to now. And he's a really amazing and generous person. This guy is the first Hispanic country artist talking about crypto in like normally what would be typical country songs, which is so hilarious. It's like pixelated and drops blockchain in song lyrics. And I feel like there's a lot of clickbait in that, which is I would see this guy on Saturday Night Live, singing those lyrics because it's so funny and so like weird from like such an old genre of music. And so to talk about what happened last week, I went to Nashville, where he lives, and Violeta, one of the first, one of the other of the 5 people that he's with, and they formed this gang of 5 singer-songwriter, Josh Savage, Emma Miller, Violeta Zironi, Sami Arriaga, and Ray Isla. Those 5 are super close to each other, and they all are marketing each other on Twitter Spaces. They're always on Twitter Spaces, always for the community. What's insane about them is like they cross-promote each other, and they have very similar collectors. And what happened last week is Sami invited 80 collectors in Nashville. We went on a ranch together. It was, as you said, like the ultimate fan experience. They signed merch for us. They did private concerts. They told us a lot of unreleased stuff and like stuff that the public doesn't know and won't know for a little while. And incredible news with like, movie directors and crazy news that I can talk about. And what's insane to me is like those people like really felt like family. It was like if you think about family as genetic equity, like equity is a concept that brings people together, and everyone was giving gifts to each other, and that was really insane. Another crazy fact is I would say the average age of their fan base is 40 years old, 50 years old people, like people who are a little older, they have time in their hands, they want to invest in artists that they love. And it's just insane to watch. Like, this is not the thing that the people that you would expect use music NFTs, but they do. They are on Sound, they are on OpenSea, and they're collecting all of those things. And so, yeah, it was just an incredible experience. And also, they all live off music NFTs. That's a very big milestone to be able to say that. All 5 do. And what's crazy is that it's 80 people behind them. Like, you don't need actually that much of a crew. They could have dreams of, going to big arenas. Like, I know Josh Savage has played with Robin Williams in the past, and they have really big dreams. But already today, at the start of their journey, they can already live off their passion off basically a few hundred people. And that's an incredible achievement versus Web2 and Spotify.
Yeah. I went to one of the showcases they had in LA, and I think to your point, it's just so powerful that they're doing it within themselves. You know, like, it's
shout
just
out
like
Sami Arriaga.
growing this amazing community.
Really awesome.
And I think that, I'm basically at this point in the market where there's this funny saying called respect the pump. We've been seeing all these meme coins this week, and the general philosophy is invite the pump into your life. If something's pumping, don't hate it because you don't understand it, because then you're pushing the pump away from you. And to kind of give context here, it's like, if anyone is figuring out how to get people to mint music NFTs right now, I don't really care how you're doing it. I think it's worth paying tribute and respect to, because everyone's still figuring this out. I feel like we don't really have the exact playbook figured out yet. There's not one right way to do it. There's not one type of music that's the only thing that's working right now. So, I have so much respect for that collective. And the reason that I wanted to ask that question is because I do think that, especially at the bottom of the bear market, finding your people through these collectives is so powerful. You have things like Rio Cragen with this company Loners that he's building. You have the Hume Collective with Angel Baby. I wrote a post about collectives recently, and I think in a lot of ways it goes back to when me and you met. It was through a collective. It was through Metacartel. This jacket you're wearing is literally
Meta Factory, which is out of Metacartel.
Project. And I think that there's something so powerful about, for people who are listening and looking to get deeper involved within these communities, trying to find a pocket or a collective where you can really get very involved on a day-to-day basis and start to meet those people. I feel like everything starts to branch out from there.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, and now, like, look at the people from Metacartel. Like, they're pretty successful. Like, you have your own podcast and your own thing. We all branched out of that collective to do exactly what we wanted to do. Like, I did my own startup thing that I wanted to. You're becoming this incredible new role that you're inventing for yourself at the intersection of music, culture, and Web3. And some are doing like merch stuff, like, and I think they partnered with Bankless Meta Factory, and so they're really successful. Peter Pan, who was like the main figure, is now an investor at 1KX, like he wanted to do. And so the same is going to happen for Web3 music artists. And like, if they're feeling down right now because of the space, like my message for you is like, it's only getting better now. And there's going to be amazing, random opportunities that are going to pop up. And if you take them, I think they're on the right track. And I've seen this with digital artists too at Showtime. Like I onboarded some artists that then exposed on Christie's and Sotheby's and all of those amazing places. And it was very surprising to them. And so now I tell Web3 artists, you're going to have a hit song maybe. You'll be on Saturday Night Live because your lyrics are kind of clickbait, like Sami Arriaga, which I think is hilarious. And you're going to be signed on a movie or something. And already I'm seeing artists telling me that like some labels are reaching out back to them because they're interested. And I think you've seen this with Daniel Allen, who was like ignored at the start, but now like he's so much bigger and more successful that even in the bottom of the bear market, they are getting interest from players that were more established.
And I think that's going to keep happening. And I love that optimism because I think it's so important to say that it's really just a game of survival right now. If you can make it through this for 1, 2, 3 years in the future, you're setting yourself up for success. And the one thing that I want to highlight there is that there are labels that are residually interested in Web3 music. If I had to be very honest here, I would say that most people do not care about or respect the culture that's being developed here in the music industry proper. I think they look to Web3 music as this fun sandbox that has some cool headline stories, but they're just like, oh, that thing is dead, right? And at this point, when I see people out in LA, I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, like it's dead right now. That doesn't mean that it's like going away. Like there's still a lot of people that are building it. And the one thing that I want to highlight here is that I'm noticing a shift in mentality recently where I think that a lot of people want to get on the radar of the traditional industry. And I think that a lot of people in Web3 are thinking a lot about how do I get signed to a label? How do I get the most streams for my music? And all of that is extremely important. But my individual mindset now is we have a pocket of people that have shown that they're fully dedicated to seeing this through. Whether it be someone like Daniel or whether it be someone like Sami, these people are committed to building a career on the back of the work they started in Web3. And so now I'm kind of like, why are we even trying to compete in the traditional landscape when we have this thing that is naturally ours and that we make the rules for? And if we really focus on that, I think you can start to attract and pull people into the space, which is why a lot of my focus now, I said this to you before the podcast, is putting great music on chain. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know how to get you on New Music Friday or get you a top editorial playlist, but I know people like you. And if I want to get more pre-save campaigns, you can use Web3 to enable and empower what you're doing on something like Spotify. But it starts from a very genuine place of saying, what is the best way that I can maximize the success of this record by starting in Web3? And I think when you change that focus, it really starts to change the way you think about building an audience and developing a name for yourself as an artist. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, like Chris Dixon said something like the next big thing looks like a toy at first. And so right now, music NFTs is a toy. And for most established artists, it doesn't look too important to leverage right now, but it's going to be. And I think honestly, like pre-save by Spotify seems to have worked so far. Like 2 weeks ago, we did like Chantel for Impossible, a song with 1 billion streams. And what's crazy is this song is obviously really good because like it's so streams and people love it. And that nudge of a couple hundred pre-save, she was like, now I'm turning on YouTube Shorts. I got a call from the YouTube team. And she said, like, I'm getting like on so many like Instagram and I'm getting covered again. That's because the algorithm is not used for like is not used to have an old song getting a spike in saves. They're like, okay, something's going on here. We're going to promote it. And because that song is so good, it just flew in the Spotify algorithm again, despite like not much traction in just like pure number of collectors. And that's an allow list for sound. And so for those people, they can get a discount on sound for her next drop and stuff like that. So anyway, like, yeah, I think no playbook for now. I think the only thing I would say, which is the correlation between who you are as an artist and how much you're doing in the space, is how much work you're putting for your community. Like it seems like even Daniel Allen, like he was spending so much time on Discord before starting out his NFTs. Spotty Wi-Fi or Sami Arriaga and the crew, like if you're super active on social, that's the number one thing that will move the needle to be able to live off your passion and just meet awesome collectors. Because I think sometimes like artists, they don't even know who are their listeners on Spotify. And with collectors, they can name people. They can't name who streamed them on Spotify, but they can name their collectors. So anyways.
I agree with being active on socials is the best way to stay engaged with your community. I think I'm also recognizing that our expectation in Web3 of how active creators need to be to build a community in Web3 is a bit unrealistic and unscalable.
100%.
And the one thing that I want to call about Showtime, the reason why I love where the product's at right now is that the question is, why not for me? You know, it's not having to convince someone that they need to go out of their way and spend 10 hours a week doing this new thing that they need to learn all this new stuff about. Yep. If you can get one more pre-save, why would you not do that? And that's kind of the philosophy I'm using for a lot of the artists that I'm talking to now that are not currently ingrained in Web3, because I think going to them and saying, why would you not put your song on sound?
Yeah,
why
actually,
would you not have it on Showtime?
It's so funny because that's exactly, the problem I just said, which is basically you have to hustle 16 hours a day on Twitter Spaces and Discord, is actually what Showtime is trying to solve, which is like, you should just care about music. Yeah, you can care about your community, but it doesn't have to be a full-time job. Like maybe labels have community people, like, you know, Daniel Allen probably with around should have a community person so he can focus on his music, which is what he loves the most. And sure, they can connect with their community, but that should not be a full-time job. And so Showtime is trying to make it not a full-time job and kind of automated where, okay, you have your DSP release on Spotify and Apple Music. Well, we're going to put Web3 there so you don't need to do a new campaign. It's the same campaign. It's like, okay, pre-save on Spotify and Apple Music, boom, and you get your free NFTs. So you kind of plug Web 2 and Web 3, which are like isolated things together, just like decreases the number of, you know, action and CTAs and just like make it easier. So yeah, 100% actually.
I want to highlight a couple of things here. One of the cool things about the Showtime pre-saves is when you do pre-save it, you get an NFT, and that in a lot of cases enters you into a raffle to actually win a music NFT of that song. And I think that relationship between getting something for free and then having the ability to win like a paid NFT in the form of something on sound is very interesting. And if we take that a step further, I know that you've been working on some creator tools at Showtime. What are some other ways that creators are going to be able to use Showtime to help address their audience in the near future here?
Yeah, for sure. So right now, pre-save, and you can get into top playlists, boost your pre-save on Spotify and Apple Music. And then for collectors, it's a raffle or an allow list or stuff like that. The next thing that we want to do is, because to them is free NFTs on this, you know, very easy Web2 email social login. Actually, creators have a lot of collectors on Showtime. Like they have a couple thousand sometimes, you know, aggregating all the drops that they've made. And we actually, and I did this tweet like, you know, let him cook for like Showtime where basically right now we don't have a very easy way to talk to your collectors. And that's a little hard problem to solve because like sometimes you have Telegram and Discord on one hand and the minting platform, and that's two different platforms. And so there's a lot of drop off. Like I think Web3 founders love the term composability. You can use a tool and stuff, but in terms of actually what people want, they want everything in one app. Like they want something that's much easier. And so very soon we're going to release a feature called Creator Channels. It's the first time I'm saying this publicly, where basically creators will have an already made for them announcement, like the announcement channel on Discord, where they can have they can post message to all of their collectors at once. And it's free. They can plug their Sound XYZ drop. They can plug their manifold allow list drop from like the Showtime allow list. They can say the raffle winner is XYZ on that channel, or post like unreleased content that they have only for their collectors. And so I think it's going to be a big improvement in just talking to people. No feed, no for you that shows you a cat video and not actually what your fans want you to see, but actually, you know, you will see your name and boom, all your fans are there already. Every collector is automatically added. Right now it's just Showtime, but we could also add sound collectors, but usually there's a big overlap between the two. And so, yeah, the ability to talk to your fans, I think, is a big problem in Web3, and we're trying to solve it.
I think to your point too, a lot of the issue with Web3 right now is just hard to communicate to people. You know, like one thing that Showtime has really prioritized is getting people's emails, being able to speak to people with the very direct communication channel that they're very used to. You know, I think that one thing it's really impressive is when you go and collect and pre-save on Showtime, it takes what, like 5 clicks now? Like you've really like optimized the time in which...
We still have some work to do. Like we're still iterating and experimenting, but one thing that we've done that's like in the space we call account abstraction, it's not really what we're doing, it's more of a centralized thing, but that's fine, is that you only sign with your wallet once. And that way we just know it's you and we will send you NFTs on your behalf. And I think it's been useful because it's really hard to use, you know, all the tools today to connect your wallet and sign and pay gas fees. We're on Polygon to make it free, but soon maybe like another blockchain. And anyway, so trying to diminish the number of clicks, diminish the wallet interactions, but still some work to do. But I think it's been it's been pretty good. I think like the good experience is when you're logged into Showtime once, then like the UX is actually super easy after. It's like a one-click collect. We actually put limits now because some people like drained the free gas fees that we're paying for them. And so we had limits, and they get stricter and stricter over time because there's like power collectors who just like spend all day just claiming stuff.
Wow. So awesome. I love that as a philosophy though, because I do believe that this next market is going to be driven by who can get the most mints, whether it be on music or art or like podcasts like this one or blogs. Just pressing that mint button, I think, is so underrated right now. And I think that we started from a place of every mint is super valuable, scarce, very expensive. And I think we're moving towards a world where a mint button is no different than a like on Instagram. And I think that teams who are really recognizing that as a philosophy are in a really strong space. And I think turning that into a question, what is your opinion on how this whole layer 2 scalability environment plays out specifically for consumer apps over the course of the next couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, we're seeing this problem right now with music NFTs at like $50, $60 gas fees. And right now music NFTs are like $10. So it's like, you're paying 5 times more the shipping fees versus the actual item you're buying. Like that's kind of crazy. And so we align on this where I see a future where we own layer 2, maybe based by Coinbase, which is better than Polygon, which doesn't feel legit. Like Polygon does not really have this legitimacy that Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, talked about. So still decentralized, and it's still your NFT. It's legit, but maybe 1 cent, 2 cents, maybe even cheaper than Polygon with the new Ethereum upgrade that's coming soon. And so I see a future where you basically have, I think that the sound swap model is pretty interesting, where you don't think about the price. The price is flexible and the supply is flexible. So you don't have to think about it as a creator. And starting from $1 to $10 with debit, credit card, Apple Pay to just get the song, I think it's going to be really fun. And if you have the sound swap stuff, well, it's very easy because it can go up if the song is popular and down. And there's no bid auction price thinking that you have to do as a creator or a collector. It automatically varies depending on the popularity. And so I think that's what's going to happen. And I'm pretty excited because it seems like this summer, I don't know if, I think I can tell it, but Jesse, who's the executive at Coinbase that we know, who's launching Base, wants to do a on-chain festival, which would be like a remote festival. And I think, Coinbase is so big, they're going to have like really, really massive artists. And all the artists we talked about, Samia Araga and Reisla and Spotty Wi-Fi, they will probably be on the headlines. Like they will have like big artists, and then there's going to be stages for all of the sound people because there's not that many. And that's one of the many opportunities that those artists today are going to be given. And I think that's going to be amazing.
There's so many ways to take that. From a very high level, I would say that I'm extremely excited about digital experiences and digital concerts. I think there's a huge untapped potential there. I'm going to pause on that rabbit hole because I can go very deep down the metaverse train. One thing I want to talk on with you that is not very well known, but something that I really respect about you is that outside of being a builder and a creator yourself, you've also been taking on more of an investor role. And I think up to you how much you want to talk about this, but I'd love to hear what you have learned from being an investor in some early stage crypto startups as of the last year.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so I am a Spearhead Fellow, which is this famous investor called Naval Ravikant, who invested a lot in Web3. And so, yeah, I have like a small $2 million fund where I invest in crypto consumer startups only, which is pretty interesting. And I did actually an investment in AI music also this week. So also excited about AI music, and we can talk more about that. I think to me, like being in San Francisco and being surrounded by so many founders and so many friends wanting to start their own company, it was just very natural to be able to invest in them. And I feel like, we have so much experience at Showtime to share because like I've been through all the rabbit holes. I know exactly how to, what wallet kit or something to do. And I can give them ideas. I always love to brainstorm. And so, yeah, I've been investing on the side. It's not something that like I advertise much because I'm still 100% focused on building my startup. Like this was proposed to me. And even when they told me, we want you to do this because we've seen like you have a lot of people in Web3 that do this passively. Like don't actively invest. Like I'm not an investor. But if someone comes up to me saying, hey, like, can you help me with fundraising? I'm like, sure. and I'll ask also to invest a little bit. And so that way I also can see the landscape of NFTs evolving. Like I've seen many Web3 messaging apps pop up. And so that kind of indicated to me, oh, okay, like, Web3 chats is coming and that's going to be interesting. And so I can see trends rise like that. And so that's also been interesting. So yeah, passively investing, it's been amazing. It's the bear market. So before I was investing from my own savings. Now it's like from Naval's money. So that's cool.
Yeah, I want to dive into the AI music stuff because we have a lot to cover there. Before we do, I just want to give a quick shout out to just like your growth and your progression over the last couple of years, because if we take a snapshot really quick, when me and you first met in 2018, it was like we were both broke.
Right.
We had no career ambitions. We didn't know anyone.
Right.
We were just YOLOing, going to Ethereum conferences and like trying to figure it out. And I think just being able to recognize that you've built yourself up to this place where you have a company with these employees that you have built a team around, that you have this fund that you're investing out of, that you have this great network. It's easy to look at like the high level achievements of crypto and say, it's all about the money or it's all about the followers on Twitter. But I think the thing that is most impressive to me is just to watch your friends, people like yourself, really just excel in their personal journey and just see how far they've gone. But then also that as sort of like a litmus test for how far you can go in the future.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. And like, I feel like, I really built like a strong emotional bond with you because we had this growth. I think like really you get very close to people when you grow like alongside each other. I think that's like, and it's like, because we don't see each other in real life too much, like we're like metaverse friends, but like, I just like, I'm forever connected to you because like we grew a lot, and same for you. Like, I mean, you really crushed it in, community and investing and just knowing and calling the music NFTs. And back then, calling DeFi summer, that's when you first grew a lot in followers, and just evolving past towards music, which was like your first passion. Like, it's been amazing to see. So
I will say, trying to figure out what the DeFi summer narrative is for music NFTs has been
a big you mentioned it
of mine,
for sure. I think it's going to happen. Like, I mean, we're seeing Pepe and like fun meme coins. I think, especially in the bear market, it's easy to create money games for people, and so maybe long term this will be ironed out and they will be like a product. But I think right now there's going to be some interesting dynamics to. I think people will get creative with all the roadblocks of a crypto winter and what that means for your sustainability as an artist. You want to come up with some cool stuff that like people will buy for XYZ reason and maybe try out a layer 2 or maybe try some other stuff. So I think like there will probably be some sort of music NFT summer or some Web3 music summer. I think we're seeing it with Zora already. Like Zora, I think took over OpenSea in primary sales. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, but I think the challenge for me is that primary sales are one indicator. I really look a lot at, to be very direct, how much money are people making off of these games on like a secondary market or after the initial issuance? And so something that I've been asking myself as last week, it's a small tangent, but I want to go here, is like, what does yield farming look like for NFTs? Music NFTs being one category, but with DeFi Summer, you had this concept that you bought this token, you locked it in this protocol.
Right.
It was a value added thing because it either gave it more liquidity or it allowed you to lend or borrow against it. And then people could kind of make money on the back of playing these very specific games around yield. And one thing I've been trying to figure out is what is the liquidity mining / yield farming initiative look like for NFTs? And I'm curious here if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So to me, there's two components to yield farming, which is staking, meaning like holding. And so right now, like if you hold, you get access to a community. And so we really need to enforce the fact that if you sell your music NFT, you will leave that community. And so that way that really enforces this as like, staking, we don't really need to do staking as long as you don't sell. That's kind of the same. And then I think, all the pre-sale on Sound or allow list on Manifold that's popping up and voting on Manifold for like the album cover and the metadata. I think it's inspired by Jack Butcher. Like basically there's a lot of apps that are doing some very easy way to engage with your community and give perks to the collectors. And that is kind of the yield of yield farming. It's all only for holders. It's allow list. It's like if you held this previous NFT, you get XYZ, and that XYZ can be valuable NFTs. And so to me, that's what kind of like what yield farming is. Maybe there's going to be like a meme term that we need to coin for like one very simple, repeatable action. We haven't found it yet, but yeah, it will probably be something along those lines. Maybe it's like there's like a direct, cryptocurrency gain if you do XYZ. I'm not sure.
I think it's going to be something around burning. I think that's where my mind's at right now, is that with all NFTs, they're limited edition, scarce goods. And I think people like this idea of knowing that there's less of them. And I think, in the same way that DeFi Summer worked, and especially projects like Yam, because you would stake tokens. And when you stake tokens, it made a token more liquid, which means that more people could trade it. And I think if we can figure out a way to basically make NFTs more desirable by giving a return for doing an action that makes it more desirable, I think that there's a moment there. And what I've been trying to figure out is music NFTs are in this interesting spot where they're so cheap relative to everything else in the market. You look on Sound right now, it's like 0.001, 0.003. And I think if we can figure out a way to incentivize people to almost be churning their NFTs more, you know, to not be as like held on to needing to say like, I need to hold this NFT forever. I think that that's exactly where everyone's mind's at right now. But I kind of feel like in a lot of ways being a lot less religious about holding your NFTs and trading them. Like you think about how people trade shitcoins. People will buy tens of thousands of dollars of these tokens and sell them an hour later and sell them 5 hours later, the next day, whatever it is. And I feel like right now with NFTs, we have this sort of mentality in the market that if you're buying this thing, you need to be a supporter for life. And I think if we can encourage more behavior around people just being like average passerby fans, you know, in the same way someone might not know the songs to an artist at a concert. I think there's something there.
I think what artists, from my experience, what artists would reply to this is, but I'm scared that my royalties will not be present because of, you know, Blur destroying royalties for the space. I think royalties are going to be enforced, and there's many ways we can do that. I think one is royalty gated stuff. So like, you know, you will pay royalties for doing something. I think SoundSwap will honor royalties. Like you get 7.5% every time you buy or sell. That enforces it, or the Sound Marketplace. And I think like Manifold and others, like they can create a gang where you have to pay royalties. And if that's the case, then the trading thing, even if it's like, you know, cyclical, like the meme coins, and there's some that are hot or not, like at least when artists are having their moment, they capture that value. And so that will make your thesis go well. And so I actually believe that royalties are going to have a comeback soon. And that's going to help this velocity thing. Because if there's no royalties, then the game is only primary sell.
Yeah. I think the royalties thing doesn't even register to me because there's so little volume out there that it's so insignificant.
Right.
That basically I'm just in the mindset of like, how do we just get people to buy and sell more of these things? You know, not even thinking about like the money involved with it or the primary or the secondary sale. I'm like, we need games that get people who don't care about music to play this, because I think it's unrealistic to expect only like deeply passionate music fans to be the one buying these things.
But I mean, to be honest, like I think Violeta Ziorni and Semi Arega, like we could check on OpenSea right now, but like they have like 200 ETH plus secondary sale. It's actually pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I want to give a lot of credit to that because in the music
like for
community,
one artist, that's a ton.
That is a lot. If we zoom out, how much ETH volume does Bored Ape have? How much in daily volume? Pepe had
makes sense.
$3 billion of trading volume.
Oh, yeah, actually, Pepe was insane. Actually, like that's crazy.
And I guess what I'm trying to highlight here is that I think in a lot of ways, I have so much respect from building from the standpoint of this is the Web3 music community. This is where we need to stem out from. But at the same time, I'm like, we need to think a lot exponentially bigger about this, because there is a world in which music NFTs have $3 billion in daily volume. But I feel like right now that feels so far away. And in a lot of ways, I think that's because of the fact that we've restricted the ways in which people participate in this ecosystem, because they have to adhere to this certain set of community norms and participation and utility. And I just don't think that most people care about that, honestly.
But I think like what's going to happen very concretely is this summer. So Base by Coinbase, which is not this corporate takeover, like hostile thing, like it will be happening in June. In August, they have this remote Web3 music thing. They really want to focus on music creators. They're going to invite a famous artist. They're going to do $1 to $10 NFTs. And I think there's going to be the headline like Beeple. And so I think the Beeple moment, which is one very expensive NFTs for millions, is going to happen for music NFTs this summer. And so, so I think I join you on the fact that there's going to be a NFT music summer this summer. Maybe it's going to be that, very cheap NFTs, two bigger artists, debit, credit card, because like I think they have like Coinbase payments, like that's the Coinbase blockchain. And so I think that's going to be super cool to see. This is what's going to happen. I think there's going to be some headline like, Nicki Minaj sells $10 million of music NFTs. And then every label, everyone is on it. And people are going to log into this. And I think that's going to be exciting.
I love your optimism saying that this is going to happen this summer.
I think it's going to happen this summer.
The other side of that and say that I think it happens next summer. not
I
this
also
one.
think, I think like probably the summer after will be the more durable one.
Yeah.
The same way that when people sold the NFT, there was still no activity for a little bit. And then in February, it kind of picked up. And so I think the same will be true. It's like, I always love to play like predictions and stuff. I think this summer, there's going to be like a one-off moment, like maybe this Web3 music festival. Then we still forget about it, but you still captured the attention of some builders. And for some people, it's enough data to build on top of it and to go all in NFTs as an artist or entrepreneur. And so then, the summer after, hopefully, there will be enough cheap NFTs. You will be able to go on a group chat. And then there will be loads of very like determined upsells. Like you buy another NFT to reply to the group chat, and then you buy another NFT to hang out with the artist. And so there's this like predefined stuff that right now artists have to do manually, which is hard. I think Sami Araga was like, he's like, I think he's asking Sound right now and other platforms to introduce gamification because they have gamification on their own PFP collections. And so anyway, so gamification, fiat on ramp, all that stuff needs to be sorted out.
I think there's one problem. People don't fuck with NFTs. It's that simple. People just don't like NFTs. And I think irregardless of what creator you put on On-Chain Summer, if it's Justin Bieber doing an NFT is not cool anymore. People doing an NFT was cool because NFTs were not cool at the time. But now that NFTs are basically washed for the time being, I think there needs to be a new mentality that gets people to collect these things because it being an NFT is not going to get
Makes
the job
sense.
done.
Also, I think to your point, like even though we always say that artists are under monetized, like one crazy example is that Justin Bieber sold his entire catalog last year for $200 million. That is nothing. Like if you think about how big Justin Bieber is in the music industry, that's like, if you think about it, like Mr. Beast, his channel is worth $10 billion. You're telling me Mr. Beast is 20 times more valuable than Justin Bieber? I don't think so. I think it probably is the opposite, maybe, or at least equal at the very least. But why? Mr. Beast is just a genius at monetization. And I think Web3 can really improve, like find a much better value for music that's not happening. And I'm curious to know who will be the Mr. Beast of Web3 music. Like someone who will go all in the monetization. They will have lots of fun games and credit card and like community first type stuff. I think it's going to be interesting.
It's my understanding it was just a fraction of his back catalog and not all of it.
Really?
I don't think it was 100%.
Because he owns a fraction of his catalog, but still, I would say that values JB at most $1 billion max. That's like a random B2B SaaS startup in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like that's not working. Like
I think
versus
that,
JB. Like
that goes to your point about like the ALEX token, why I think that there's so much potential, because I do think that creating an asset class around creators is going to be extremely exciting because it allows us to actually place a valuation on things that we've never been able to in the past.
Yeah. And right now it's hard to put a number because you want to be like, okay, well, it's not valuable, this NFT, it's like this new thing. And I think you can be tempted to say, well, we're going to redistribute the Spotify earnings or like just go off the old world. But the old world, one, doesn't pay well, and two, is not going to have a good revenue streams because of all the Spotify old mechanisms. And so I think it's better to start from this blank music NFT stuff. Yeah, it's not very useful today, which is like a big criticism, but we're going to figure this out. And once we have it, it's a brand new asset and it's going to be able to capture all the value around an artist. That is not Spotify. All the new stuff we're going to build, music NFTs will capture it. And I'm thinking about AI music right now because to me, like we always say, Web3 is like, you know, a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
We have a problem. AI music, it's really difficult to find who actually deserves to get royalties when you're using like Juice WRLD AI voice. Now we know. Now it's via Web3 music NFT royalties. Very easy. And I talked to you about it and a couple of people like, we Web3 people don't have to create the AI tool for music. You can upload your AI music, tag the artist that you're doing the voice from, their wallet address like, you know, appears, and boom, every sale, they get a small share. I think that would be amazing, and that will be a new, and then boom, we have a true music NFT value that captures, as you said, when the artist blows up, they capture some of that value. And so anyways, like I'm very excited about the net new, the new primitive stuff versus I'm saying this as Showtime is doing Spotify stuff, but we're trying to get people away from Spotify.
Talk to me about AI music, man. I know that there's been some interesting developments over here.
So as I said, very excited about AI music, solving as like Web3 music solving the royalties problem in AI music. So personally, for me, I think I've always wanted to be like, I think Balaji calls it the founding influencer, like becoming the influencer as your startup, as the CEO, which is my role. And so I was like, I always wanted to be an artist. I think I really saw me becoming this famous person. Like I really want to be famous. I think like, as the CEO of like a social consumer app, you become famous anyway. And so the same way as like, Elon Musk tweeting is very low effort because, tweeting doesn't take too long. If music becomes as easy as tweeting, like it's supposed to become with AI music, I want to do songs. I want to do songs to release products. I want to do songs to talk about anything and to do some jokes and I think it's going to be really cool. And so I think I can announce it right now. So I'm going to become an AI artist working with Young Algo, who's worked at Zora as a sound engineer and amongst other cool stuff. We're going to release one song with Lil Peep AI and Juice WRLD AI as a free mint. We're going to drop another song, which is going to be the same beat, but with my own AI voice, which will be, I think it will be emo rap. So kind of like the same world of like Lil Peep, Juice WRLD, which I really like. And then who knows what's next, but maybe I will switch genre. Maybe it will be some more pop, electronic music stuff because I also love electronic music. So I'm going to become an AI artist. I'm going to use Showtime and all of the tools and try to come up with my own stuff. And the same way that Alex as a creator boosted me a lot, maybe now I will be boosted again with AI music, becoming one of the first AI artists. So I'm excited about that.
What does it mean to be an AI artist?
So an AI artist, I would say, is if you're using... I think like the beats is pretty cool, but I think type beats is already abundant even before AI music. The true thing that makes you an AI artist is that you are using AI voices. And it could mean you are using AI voices of famous artists like Michael Jackson or Dua Lipa. But maybe what will define AI artists is if you find your own voice timbre that's AI generated. I think to me, and this is kind of like what Angel Baby has been doing. I think on their last song, I think their voice is AI too, Grimes, but also their own voice. And so I think that's really cool to me. It's like if like someone who doesn't sing like me, who doesn't want to spend tens of hours, tuning autotune, AI music is going to be even better because you can say, hey, do a, rap voice or emo rap voice, not some voice that was used by a copyrighted artist, but a new one, a unique one. I think that's going to be really fun. And so I think that's what defines AI music.
For what it's worth, I agree. I think it's actually finding a new voice and a new style using the AI tools as a template. And I think that can translate across both your vocals. I think it could also translate across production. And I think there's going to be a new genre and a type of music that stems out of the usage of AI. And I'm very excited for that to be relevant because I think in a lot of ways, to your credit, Web3 becomes the bedrock for this next generation of music. And I think we've always seen music is what drives technology. Like when you look at SoundCloud, or you look at Spotify, you think less about like the technology under the hood of those platforms. You just think about the type of music that you found on it. And I think in a lot of ways right now, Web3 music is leaning very heavily on the technology. It's saying like, these are NFTs, we're independent, we're taking back ownership, very strong philosophies. But I think what clicks to the mainstream is not that it's an NFT. I think it's the fact that there is a new style and a genre of music that's very compelling. And under the hood, it just happened to have been enabled by the fact that it was built on Web3 rails. Yeah,
100%. I think in AI music, if you want to learn more, there is Young Algo, which is my producer and collaborator on my first song. CassetteAI.com, which is a website and mobile app where you can record and just have like any voice modifications and beats generated by AI. And the third one is Angel Baby. I think Angel Baby is on top of it. Like they were the first one to release a song with Grimes, number one on sound right now. So like I think we're already seeing this, like sound is dominated by AI. Like it's crazy. So very excited about this. I think the true artists who have real voices, they don't have to use AI music, but it's going to be interesting. And I would say if you're an artist, don't do the AI stuff if you don't feel like it, because I know it can feel like it's taking away your expression, but allow others to use it because you never know. Someone could like make you more money. They could also give you new ideas. And I think that would be helpful. So I would say you don't have to do it. Like you can keep your creativity and what you think makes you best, but you should be open-minded and potentially just allow other people, just set your royalties and set a lyric allow list, which is I'm not using any slurs. I'm not using NSFW content. I'm not, talking about stuff that I don't approve. But apart from this, just by default approve. This is what Grimes had right. She was not like, okay, I'm going to get everyone to approve manually. Like I will be the one deciding and the approval. She was like, you can't stop the internet. What you can do is set rules. And then if there's a song that goes viral that like break those rules, then take it down. Which is, what Ghostwriter 977 did with like the fake Drake and the Weeknd song. That was super fun, but, not respecting, so taken down. And so, yeah, I think those things are going to be super interesting to watch. I can't wait.
Well, let's tie it all full circle. I know that Showtime, you said in the immediate short term, pre-saves for Spotify. We have this creator tooling dashboard coming next. Give me a very high-level overview of where you see Showtime as a company going over the next year or two.
So I think over the next year or two, I think we want to be like the easiest app to start your journey in crypto. And so it's looking like in the next year or two, it will be about music, maybe even AI music, something that's totally new and where people can just buy cheap NFTs. I think we're going to have paid NFT at Showtime very soon, which will be between $1 and $10. And something that's very social. And I like the term that's social. Right now, Showtime is not really a social tool yet. It's more of a marketing tool to, promote your paid NFT and have this quick allow list that you can deploy and that you can include everyone. Like Showtime, we really aim for Showtime to be for everyone because you can sign up with email and stuff. Once we have all of those people who sign up to Showtime, stuff like creator channels and stuff where people can just come back to connect with artists on a social level, regardless of whether the market is up or down, they can always connect with them. I think that's going to be super cool. And we want to do probably social NFTs around that. We don't want to do music NFTs. That's for the music players and the sound and catalog of the world. We want to do like more social NFTs in a very easy way. And whatever persona, we did artist in like digital art. We did music NFTs and music artist. If it's another one like AI artist or something else, we'll do them. But always like, favoring the connection, making money and the social aspect, I think is going to be really key.
Well, the one thing that I love about you is you're never going to stop until you figure it out. I think that's
right.
Consistent
Yeah,
thing.
I think at that point it's kind of a given. And same for you. Like, I mean, you've been there for a long time. Like, I said to myself, I would dedicate 1 decade to crypto. That's what I said at the start of the podcast. Now it's year 3, going on year 4. And yeah, so at least 6 years more.
I love it. And if people want to stay up with you outside of this podcast episode, what's the best place to follow you?
So the best place to follow me is at ALEX Masmej, ALEX Masmej, which is like a shortened version of my real French long-ass name. And then Showtime.xyz is the website where you can download the app and stuff.
Well, there you have it. Alex from Showtime. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
your
bro.
time.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.